What up, my man of society? It is your host with the most, Shadow Low, back at you with another video. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free. That is how you help my channel get into the algorithm. Highly appreciate if you go ahead and do that. Now, what I wanted to talk about was, I had made a video on my other channel, right, about why does the world hate snitches so much, right? And in that, I was asked a question, right? So I decided to do it on this, channel, right? Because that way, the channels, correlate. Even people want to go watch that video, go visit over there, vice versa. So they asked, what exactly is dry snitching, and if I could give an example, right? So dry snitching is a prison term, right? That somehow individuals now have turned it into something that is not. That's what happens when you have like younger folks, right, who hear older folks talk, right, and don't really know what's up, right? So they grab certain terms and then they start using them, but the wrong way, right? Like dropout, they label individuals that are not even dropouts because they think that someone that's no good is considered a dropout when that's not how that's not how it works, right? But that's how you can always tell who knows what they're talking about and who doesn't, right? And dry snitching is another one, right? So dry snitching is a prison term, right, that was used to, like, let's say if you're having a problem with an individual, right, or an altercation is happening, right, whether you're gonna stab him, jump him, or fight him, whatever, right? And it doesn't even have to portray so much into just fighting, right? But I'm just giving this as an example. So you start now, yelling loudly and acting crazy. You're bringing attention to the situation, right? You're pretty much trying to get the guard's attention without actually saying, hey, guard, look at us over here, So, like, you're trying to get his attention without actually really calling for him. You're calling for him without really calling for him, basically, is what you're doing, right? You really don't want to go through with this, and you really don't want the situation to go down. So you're going to speak loudly enough, to bring attention to yourself to get the guards to come. And, so that is what dry snitching is, right? Is you're telling what you guys have going on without actually really saying what's going on, right? So like another form of dry snitching is if you're talking loudly enough that everybody hears about your criminal endeavors, right? Like about the criminal activity you have going down, going on, right? So like you're talking in a sense where you're putting people in criminal situations, right? Like about criminal activity, selling drugs, selling weapons, shootings, stabbings, anything like that, right? Where you're talking about a specific crime, not talking about like what these individuals as a gang do, right? But as in specifically this guy and that guy and this guy by names, so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so on Saturday at 3 p.m. on this street or this building or whatever, or did this and that, right? So that's dry snitching, right? But you're saying it without going to law enforcement and actually telling them, right? Pretty much that's what dry snitching is, right? Now, it doesn't portray to criminal events that have already happened, right? Because these people have been prosecuted. It's already have been done for. So, police are not going to go investigate a crime that they already solved and closed and people are already doing time for, right? They're looking for, information for unsolved criminal activities, unsolved cases, incidents that haven't been taken to trial and booked like that, right? So you're pretty much tipping them off without actually calling them directly and tipping them off, pretty much. That's what dry snitching is, So I see people always like, there's this one channel, right? What's it called? LA gang culture or some shit like that, right? And the guy's talking about some Crips, right? Yeah, some Crips and the incident that happened with Bloods, right? And somebody was saying that guy was dry snitching when it's like, the guys have already been convicted. He's talking about a case that's already been closed, like it's closed, right? So you get what I'm saying? Like, people don't really know what they're talking about, right? But try to act like they know what they're talking about. In general, I feel like people shouldn't talk about criminal cases, right? Because if a person wants to appeal his case, right, it could hurt his case, right? It could, it could really jeopardize his, his case, right? When it comes to like appeals and stuff like that, right? Not only that, but then you have also the victims' families, who feel some type of way, and the person's families who feel some type of way, right? So just out of respect, I personally feel like those type of conversations should be out of the respect, and like I said, certain individuals don't like when you talk about their shit that's going on, but it's public record, like I said, but you know what I mean, that there's gonna be issues, right? Um, but yeah, but so people try to apply dry snitching to other stuff that I really don't understand, right? But that's the proper, of what is dry snitching, at least in the world, and how we, how it's used and how it's run or whatever the fuck. Like I said, what happens is that you get like younger individuals who hear older individuals talk, right, and without actually like really in the conversation, right? So they just grab these terms because they think that they sound cool or whatever the hell, and then they try to use them, but they're not using them, the right way. So and then like I said, it becomes like a trend or whatever, and people now start using it, right? You have had this, happen with several words, like I said, even dropout, even J cats, and shit like that, bro. People just really try to use the prison lingo and whatever. Obviously, to them, they, script things, right? Because, they're not really trying to have the who to know what they have going down, right? Um, but either way, like I said, that's why, the lingo always changes, right? So it's always a game of, like, they find a way, and then these guys, now, find out what they're doing, so then they have to change it, and then they find out it again, and the game keeps changing and changing and changing for that reason, right? It's a game of cat and mouse, I guess, right? But yeah, overall, that's what dry snitching is, right? Shut up.